All right, so welcome to another video of Cold Email University. Today I'm going to be showing you how to generate infinite cold email domain names with ChatGPT that you're going to be using for cold email purposes. Now, if you remember what we discussed in the first video, which was basically the previous video, the first step when it comes to setting up a cold email infrastructure is purchasing custom domains from GoDaddy. Now, that's going to be the next video, but in order to actually purchase those domains, you first need to know what the domain names are in order for you to then be able to actually purchase them. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Now, if you're just joining along and you haven't watched the previous video, my name is Alex. I'm the founder at Sparkly, the B2B lead generation agency. I basically send cold emails for a living. I've sent over 5 million cold emails, booked over 1,000 sales calls, and generated over 1.2 million in closed revenue for my clients. These are just a couple of case studies that we have. We helped a B2B SaaS company generate 150,000 in new revenue. We helped a marketing agency add 30,000 in new MRR. And we also helped an AI company generate 63,000 in MRR just using cold email. All right, so the first thing you need to know when you're sending cold emails is that you should never use your primary business domain that you host your website on. You should never use that domain for cold email purposes. And there's two main reasons why. So the first reason is we want to ensure that that domain doesn't get blacklisted. You don't want to have any errors with that domain that is then going to be affecting your website. And the second reason is because you can only send 15 to 20 emails per day per inbox, and you can only set up 2 inboxes for every domain that you have. So for this reason, if you want to send hundreds or even thousands of emails every single day, you need to purchase multiple custom domains. Okay, so these custom domains are essentially going to be different variations of your primary domain that sound similar or basically identical to that primary domain. So essentially, you need to create other domain names that look like that domain, but you're going to be using just for cold email purposes. So the reason why you do this is because in the case that one domain gets blacklisted, at least you'll be able to send regular emails through all your other domains. And then finally, you'll also be able to scale the volume of your cold email campaigns without worrying that it's going to affect your primary business domain and your website and any other business activity that you're conducting through any other domain that you own. So how do you actually come up with an infinite number of domain ideas? So when I said an infinite number, I literally mean that it's possible using these 3 strategies to generate an infinite number of cold email domain ideas. So let's just say that your original domain idea is zartarianalexand.com. So that's my surname and my first name. So the first way that you can come up with new domain ideas is by using prefixes and suffixes. That means that you can just add words at the beginning and at the end of your primary domain. And essentially, you can add any of the following words in these boxes to create new variations. So let me give you an example. So let's say this is the primary domain. This is where you host your website on, zartarianalexand.com. You can then add these prefixes and suffixes to come up with variations like this right here. So you can see here that the primary domain is still part of this domain, but we just added the word add. So we have add zartarianalexand.com, app zartarianalexand.com, get, and then we also have some suffixes here. So we're adding at the end of the domain go.com, grow.com, and hello.com. So you can see here that if you have all these prefixes and suffixes and you add them to the beginning and then to the end of your domains, you already have like 20, 50, 60 new domain ideas that you can use that all pretty much look exactly the same to this domain right here. The only difference is that they have a little small word at the beginning and at the end. Okay, and don't worry about this not looking professional, or if your prospects are going to realize that you have a prefix or a suffix. It doesn't make any difference. So as I said, I've sent over 5 million emails at this point. This is a strategy that we use. It's very common in the cold email space. Like, this is the way to generate new domain ideas. So make sure that you always buy .com domains. They are proven to be better for deliverability purposes. So when it comes to landing in the primary inbox, and plus it's always more reliable when you receive an email from a .com domain as opposed to .net, .biz, or any other ending that you can think of. So just think of your primary business domain and then just add all these prefixes and suffixes. So that's the first solution. But let's say that you want to generate hundreds or even 200, 300, 400 domain ideas. So you've basically exhausted this solution. You've used all these prefixes and suffixes and it's not enough. The second solution is to abbreviate your domain by removing vowels. So once again, the example domain is zartarianalexand.com. The first way you can abbreviate is by removing one vowel. So you can see here, we removed the A, the first A in Zartarian. Here we removed one of the A's in Alexand. Zartarian, you see, it's so confusing. Like, it looks that identical to the primary business domain that I can hardly tell which vowel I even removed from the domain. So you can see here that basically in each of these variations, we're removing one vowel. So once again, just take whatever your domain is and start removing the vowels. So as you can see, all these look the same, but the only thing that makes them different is the fact that a certain letter or vowel is basically missing. So you can do this first of all by removing one vowel, and then you can also remove two vowels. So once again, you can hardly tell what the difference is, but you can see here that there's two A's basically missing from my surname here. Once again, there's always going to be one or two vowels that are missing from the domain. And this is another way that you can come up with more variations of that domain. So now you have two solutions. First of all, you can add a prefix and you can add a suffix. The second solution is that you can remove one vowel, two vowels, and you can remove three vowels. Obviously, the more vowels you remove, the less identical it's going to look to your primary business domain, but it doesn't really make a difference. So this is the second strategy. You can remove vowels. Now, the third solution, if you've also exhausted the second solution and you still need more domain ideas, is that you can mix solution one and solution two. So you can add prefixes and suffixes to the abbreviated domains. So if you go back to these domains here, you can basically take these domains and then you can start adding some of these words to the beginning and to the end of the domains like I did here. So we have the abbreviated domain here, and then we have a prefix. We have a prefix, we have a prefix. Here we have the abbreviated domain, and we also have a suffix at the end, which is pro.com. We have go.com at the end and info.com. So this is essentially the three ways and the three solutions to the problem of not having enough domain ideas or not knowing what domains to use for cold email purposes. Now, this is a manual process. Like I did this manually, but the easiest way to do this is just by going into ChatGPT and just giving your primary business domain to ChatGPT, and then just basically giving it all these prefixes and suffixes here. You can just copy them from the screen, and you can just basically tell Chat to add these prefixes and suffixes to create as many variations as possible. And then once you do that, once again, you can go into ChatGPT, you can give it your primary business domain, and then you can tell Chat to come up with new variations of this domain by removing one vowel. And then once it exhausts that, you can remove two vowels, and you can just basically get ChatGPT to do this entire process for you by just copying exactly what you see on the screen. So that's the first thing that you need to do before you actually buy custom domains. So if, for example, you need 50 custom domains, then just come up with 50 custom variations and lookalike ideas of your primary business domain. Now, bear in mind that you can set up 2 email accounts for every domain that you purchase. So if you want 100 email accounts, you need to come up with 50 domain ideas. If you want 1,000 email accounts, then you need to come up with 500 domain ideas. I would say a good starting point is at least 15, 20, 25 domains. So as you're watching this video, just go into ChatGPT, and then you can basically just tell it to use these 3 solutions. So that's that for this video. You now know exactly how to generate an infinite number of cold email domain names with ChatGPT. Hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next video where we're basically going to be showing you how to buy those custom domains in GoDaddy.